Good evening, and welcome to the Drive at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station. I'm your host, Roman, and we have a great show planned for you today. But first, the forecast from our IntellectualRadio.com Weather Center. Today, cloudy, snow early, then a couple of snow showers late this afternoon, high 40 degrees tonight. Snow showers early, otherwise cloudy, breezy, and turning cold, maybe an inch or more in certain areas, low 20 degrees tomorrow, breezy and colder with clouds mixed with sun, high 26 degrees. Tomorrow night, yes, cloudy. And guess what? The hawk will be out, so bundle up. Low 17 degrees. Wednesday, not as cold with a bit of snow, high 32 degrees. On Thursday, cloudy with flurries, high 33 degrees. And on Friday, mostly cloudy, high 34 degrees. The Drive at 5 is also part of the new Monday night lineup with new shows. First, we start with at 4 p.m. called The 50 Shades of Business Growth, Policy Matters with Jerry Brown at 6 p.m. New Black Leadership at 7 p.m. Black Community Unity at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Chronicles of Rom. And there's this show called The Mic Up. And you know why they call it The Mic Up? You're supposed to say why. Because the mic is always up. That's at 10 p.m. Also, the Drive at 5 is also part of the fabulous 5 at 5 only on IntellectualRadio.com. Tonight, my guest is a children's author, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur. She's here to promote her latest book entitled Violet Finds a Dollar. Please give a Drive at 5 welcome to, and I've been practicing this. And it's like Kenyatta Scott.
Welcome. Said it the right way. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the Drive. Please give IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station your background.
Sure. So I am a motivational speaker. I'm the founder and CEO of Let's Talk Incorporated. And I am also a speech therapist by day. I am a children's book author. I speak various topics in the community to youth and young adults about like self-esteem, celibacy, and then I'm also the resident wife in waiting for the Wives Talk. And then I've also been recently inducted into the 40 Under 40 Demoiselles to Femme. So thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, good. And congratulations on 40 Under 40 award.
Thank you so much.
Now, what inspired you to write Violet Finds a Dollar?
So I believe that I was born to write. It was my calling, and all of my previous careers and my career path and track was dealing with working with children. And so it kind of felt only natural that I would then begin to write something with children involved.
You mentioned in the book is a good way to spend time with like father and daughter time. Mm-hmm. Can you elaborate on that, and how can the book assist in father and daughter time?
So Violet, so first of all, it is a morally based series. So it's the Violet book series, and each book will have a background that is morally based. So for instance, the one for Violet Finds a Dollar, the underlying theme of that is, well, what would you do if you found a dollar? So I also pick up the component of daddy-daughter time, meaning that Violet is going to be going throughout her day with her brother Derek, and she's learning a lot of her life lessons from dad.
Elaborate a little bit on the life lessons, or it's in the book?
It is in the book.
I knew you was going to say that.
Well, I probably wouldn't have said it if you didn't just say it. So there you go.
A little hint?
A little hint?
Yeah.
As far as like how she's spending time with
right.
dad?
Yes.
So they are going throughout a regular day in their life, and there's mom, her stepmom, her dad, her brother Derek, and then Violet. And so mom decides to stay at home, and so Violet and Derek go out with dad.
Now, in the book, Violet goes on an adventure figuring out what to do with the dollar, right? Now, no?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, elaborate on it. What kind of adventures?
So the main point of the story is her finding the dollar.
Okay.
And then as far as like, yes, is she going to do the right thing once she finds it?
Okay, gotcha.
So that moral component.
Figuring out what to do with the dollar. Just like an adult figuring out if I had $1 million or $100. Going through these scenarios of what to do in the process. Reading it made me think of a small amount can be a big amount. What do you do in the process in order to make the money last? So what you think about that interpretation? Like making the money last. Like if I had $1 million, if I win the lottery, you know what I'm going to do with the money? Is that similar or no?
So what would be most similar would be if you found the $1 million, and then what do you do with it after you find it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask the tax person that because see if it's tax deductible if you don't report it. So,
or maybe you should give it back because it doesn't belong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for all the kids out there that are listening. We're trying to steer you guys into doing the right thing when you find something that doesn't belong to you.
What you want the reader to learn or life lessons you want to convey by reading Violet Finds a Dollar?
So the life lesson that is conveyed is the fact that doing the right thing and the easy thing isn't always the same thing.
Okay, well, elaborate a little bit more about.
So it may be hard to find something. So for your example, $1 million, it may be a little bit difficult. It sounded like it would be difficult for you. You found your $1 million, you're already like, is it tax deductible versus like, does it belong to me though? So like that's what should come first. So yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to ask Earl that same question. You are also a motivational speaker, talking about abstinence and faith. Describe that to us, because you talk about and you go to different parts of the community to talk about your faith, and you talk about the youth. Describe that to us.
So I talk primarily about self-esteem and celibacy and how those can be closely related and intertwined, especially within our youth and young adults. And that goes for men and women, as far as perhaps your self-worth being a part of what you do versus who you are in popular culture.
So define self-worth, because a lot of people have a different interpretation of self-worth. Like my self-worth might be different than your self-worth.
Right. So my personal definition, which like how you just said, everybody, but my personal definition of self-worth is at the end of the day, are you able to look at you in the mirror? Are you able to sit with the type of person that you are being and portraying, not only to the world, but with yourself? At the end of the day, are you comfortable with how you're portraying yourself in this world? Are you feeling like you are doing things that are, and I'm going to pull in the component of spirituality, are you doing things that are honoring the very best you that God created you to be?
So in that scenario, you're like, okay, whatever you do, you incorporate God.
Yes.
And whatever your spiritual guide you, your spiritual faith. So in creating Violet Finds a Dollar,
Mm-hmm.
you said that the Spirit led you.
Yes.
And guided you.
Yes.
To directions, but it also directed you to become an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, a speech therapist. The list goes on and on.
Yes.
So what is the continuation in keeping God in the center of it?
So where God is in the center of entrepreneurship for me is where it says, be ye not afraid. So walking by faith and not by sight, making myself open and available to opportunities as they present themselves. I I said a powerful prayer about a year and a half ago. And I said, God, use me for your will and for your glory. And that remove all of me and let there be like little of me there, but all of you, so that when I am moving and operating, that I'm always doing it in a sense of excellency where people can see God, not just that they hear me talking about him, but that they can really tell that I am somebody that is a person of faith, and that also sometimes they say you may be the only Bible some people read. So they're watching your actions, they're watching how you conduct yourself. They are looking at what you do as far as a moral compass, and can you rise to the challenge? And maybe that's not always for you to have to be like this living Bible and the living word. But for me, I'm like, that's what I was created to do and to be anyway. And so with entrepreneurship, there are times when I'm perhaps placed in situations or asked to do things that me, Kenyatta, my flesh, I don't feel totally comfortable with. Did I choose to be a motivational speaker for celibacy? No, that was my own personal business to me. But then when I was called into the limelight, the spotlight was placed on me, and I had my personal private conversation with God. What I received back is that do this because it will help somebody. You will motivate somebody. You will encourage the youth. You will show them that celibacy is not necessarily like this death sentence, and that actually that, you know, we are created to be able to preserve our very best selves for who we're intended to be with.
So it goes with the scripture that basically say, you know, listen to my word, don't follow man. And it's like when you walk by faith, it also blesses you towards in the creation if you abide by him, correct?
So I'm pausing because I'm thinking about your question when you say, is it what I want? So I can't sit up here and say I wanted to be a motivational speaker because I
Hmm.
didn't. I can't sit up here and say I wanted to be a children's book author versus that was what I was called to do. So it's more uh, as far as me walking in my calling. Me walking in my calling, when opportunities present themselves, then I'm praying over it. I'm praying for discernment. Is this the right thing? Does this feel closely tied to what you created me to do? So it's not a matter of like what I want. I just know that I personally always enjoyed working with children. So I'm open to whatever it is. It's like, do this with children. I know that I'm an extrovert, so I can talk. So perhaps that's why I became a motivational speaker. So all of these things were already placed in me and carry out whatever I'm supposed to do here on earth. So I can't say that they were things that I quote unquote wanted. All I wanted is to, you know, be used for his will and his way, and for my life to have, you know, like meaning, and for me also to be able to fulfill whatever my destiny is and my calling is before I leave this earth.
What is the reaction you get from children, teens, and young adults talking about faith and abstinence?
They are inspired. I will have to say that because I believe because it's a little bit of a shock to their senses,
Why?
because I think that kids picture and their idea of what they believe like the face of someone who's not actively having sex looks like is totally different than what I look like. And so I think that that shocks their senses a little bit. And then when I'm able to, so I tell like personal stories about like how I got from A to B, and that really kids listen to that, because when you can be open with the child and share that I wasn't always in this place, or I was where you were, or I was bullied too, and these sorts of things, then they're able to relate to you. Then also when I'm sharing with them the part of that self-esteem component, and they're asking the questions, men and women, young men and women are raising their hands. And numerous times I've had young women say to me, well, aren't you afraid that no one will want you? And that is a very powerful question for our youth to still be asking in 2017. That speaks about the messages that we're conveying as adults, and I believe we have a responsibility to our children to let them know that they are worth more than to somebody else.
Now, you put finds a dollar into like a big thing here. So you got some t-shirts you wanted to show us. So show us some of the t-shirts.
So Violet Finds a Dollar is the first book in the series. And as a result of Violet Finds a Dollar coming out in October, then the public was asking like, well, what's next? What's next? So that's when I decided to come out with t-shirts. So her brother Derek and Violet has a shirt. And so I'll probably be perhaps coming out with a few more products before the second book is released.
Now, was it important to make sure that the caricatures reflects the African American community, or like an African American versus other caricatures that might be featured?
When I was going through the illustrations, I found myself naturally gravitating towards characters that look like us.
That was it? That's all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. So please tell IntellectualRadio.com/iHeart radio station where they can get the book, get in contact with you. See, it's not that bad. It's over.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm totally fine with it. I keep telling you this.
Oh.
Were you nervous? I wasn't. Were you? You the one that kept bringing it up. I never once said.
Oh, okay.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm just please give IntellectualRadio.com/iHeart where to get the book and how they can get in contact with you.
Sure.
And the t-shirts too.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a great question.
On that, see.
So
that was a slow high five.
Like I said, the founder and CEO for Let's Talk Incorporated. And oh, look, it's snowing out.
See, if you listen to the forecast, I already said it.
I know, because I missed my cue where you said I was supposed to say something else. I can't remember what that was. But letstalkincorporated.net is where you can book me for motivational speaking. And then if you're under Let's Talk Incorporated, there is also a link that will direct you to the book series, but I also do have a separate site for that as well. And that is www.thevioletbookseries.com. And then Violet can also be found on Facebook and Instagram under the Violet Book Series as well.
So give that one more time.
www.thevioletbookseries.com, and the t-shirts can be found on there as well. And then I'm also running a holiday contest that goes until December 17th. And the instructions for that are on the Facebook page. So once you make a purchase, you're able to go onto her Facebook, post a picture of either the book you bought or the shirt with a review. And then you're automatically entered into a contest to receive either another book or a poster that will be motivational with Violet on it. So,
Cool.
yes.
Don't be a stranger to the drive, okay?
Thank you again for having me. Sir.
No problem. You coming back next week. So when we come back,
I know, to help you figure out what to do with that money, right?
when, I'm pleading the fifth on that. I'm joining Jeff Sessions here. When we come back on the drive at 5 with Roman, they're here. W-2s are back. However, before you file your taxes, there's some info CEO Stephen Keys from Expedia Tax Services you need to know before you file your taxes this year. Up next on the drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com/iHeartRadio station. And we're back on the drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com/iHeartRadio station. Tax time is here, and those W-2 forms are popping up in your mailbox. Yes, it is. There are new tax codes and procedures to know. To put it all into perspective is CEO of Expedia Tax Services, Stephen Keys. Welcome to the drive.
Thank you, Roman. Appreciate it. And thanks to Intellectual Radio for having me today.
Please give intellectualradio.com/iHeartRadio station your background.
Okay, first of all, my name is Stephen T. Keys. I am CEO and president of Expedient Tax Service. I've been into the tax industry for over 10 years now, and in this ever in changing tax industry, this is one of the toughest years that we can look forward to having. And what motivated me to start the tax service is I was actually working for a company, and it was in the healthcare field, and a lot of my coworkers were having problems with taxes, and I took a little class, and they were like, "Whoa. Hey, you took a class, you can, maybe you can help us out." I'm like, "No, I don't know about if I could, so I gave it a try, a couple of my managers, one of the doctors also as well. I end up getting them a refund back, and after that, they used me. I furthered my education. I was also, I went to the Illinois Tax Training Institute, where I was trained by private tax attorneys, and that really helped me further my education moving forward. So I went ahead and started Expedient Tax Service, and look at us now.
Now, let's say you're filing my taxes or filing Wanda's taxes over there. What new tax code or procedures to look out for in filing your taxes?
Well, I wouldn't say new tax code or procedures, because a lot of the codes has already been around. It just hasn't been enforced as much as it should have been.
Give us some examples of that.
Of course, with the new tax code that they're trying to implement. But these right now, we on the I always say let's focus on the present, until we get to the future. But right now we're still under the same tax codes. As far as to help the community is to have all of your forms, all of your W-2s, all of your 1099s. And what happens is a lot of people get excited and, they want to file right away. And if you're missing a document or anything, that can affect your tax return, or that could delay it.
So they always say as soon as you receive your W-2, you file.
Absolutely.
But you're saying wait until you get all your documents.
Absolutely. All your documents, because it may be somewhere you've had interest on a banking account, okay, where you're supposed to receive a 1099 interest, and you go ahead and you file it, and now you're getting a correspondence from the IRS as to you didn't report this income. So most people focus on because the income is mediocre, but it doesn't matter. Okay. If you have missing forms, that is not taken lightly. You want to make sure you have all your forms. You want to make sure everything is up to date as far as Social Security. If you had a change in name or anything, that's very important. That can also delay a return.
Now, if I am an entrepreneur, what can I get deducted if I work from home in order to get a good tax return?
Oh, that's a very good question. Okay, so first of all, you want to make sure that you have your square footage of the area of what you use as a home-based business, okay? In order for you to deduct the rent, which is one of the most important things, and it's all according to the square footage of the usage of the home, the area, okay? You also want to...
So you got to walk around with a ruler and measure it? I mean...
No, not necessarily. You just give a good estimate of, let's say you in the room, right? And when you go and you have an apartment, they give you measurements when you lease an apartment or you rent an apartment, and they tell you this room is this amount of square foot or this apartment is this amount of square foot. So what you do is you go to your leasing plan. A lot of times people don't do it because they don't focus on it, but this is very important. Okay. You find out, get a measurement, whether it's from the maintenance person, that a professional that does it, a janitor in the building, they can tell you what this area is. Okay. And that right there will count as deduction for rent that you pay for the home deduction. Okay. For your home business. That's one of the main things.
So what if it's a storefront?
Same thing with the storefront. Storefronts are pretty much different depending on how you're set up as an entity. If you're a sole proprietor, corporation, LLC, then that'll be taxed different. Okay. If it's a pass-through entity, it just depends on how you're set up.
I am an entrepreneur. What entrepreneurs overlook in order to get a good return?
Entrepreneurs overlook a lot of what I've seen. They overlook advertisement. They overlook expenses, supplies, the small things that really will make a difference on the return. Cell phone usage for the business. They overlook mileage for gas used for the business, and that would help the income.
What about vendors' fees? A lot of people use vending and so forth. Can that be tax deductible, vending fees?
Well, it all depends on suppliers. Okay, what is being expensed as supplies? Okay, usually depending on how you do your accounting, and that's an accounting question. When it comes to inventory, like a restaurant or a business that have cost of goods. Okay, that's where vendors come into play. But being a small business owner or entrepreneur, you don't have most of the time you don't have cost of goods. You have the basic logistics of supplies. So which supplies will be an expense.
I'm single, work, and still the government is taxing me to death. What to do in order to stop the overtaxation of being single?
Aye. It all depends.
See, I got you there, huh?
having a one of the main things when you're W-2 is two things. If you're a W-2, you're single. What you want to take advantage of is job-related expenses. Okay, that would be, you may want to consider itemizing. Okay, and what that is, my number one rule that I always say is, if you're taking a standard deduction, for an example, if a standard deduction is a deduction that the IRS gives you according to your filing status, single, head of household, married filing jointly, married filing separately. So if you're single, let's say you get a $6,700 tax deduction for being single, standard deduction. But you have job-related expenses, you itemizing far as medical, You have dental. You have co-payments that you paid into. You have, let's say, you have uniforms. You have union dues or charities. Somebody that gives contribution to a church, tithes that you done paid all year. Those can be itemized. Okay, so I say my rule is if your itemizations exceeds the standard deduction of being single, the 6,700, you might as well just itemize.
Can the city or county taxes be deductible if you own a home or you're renting and they go up on your rent because of the county taxes and the city taxes?
Again, those taxes can also be itemized on a Schedule A, okay? And that's a lot of times people don't take advantage of the county taxes and the real estate taxes if you own a home. All of that is tax deductible. And I believe it's up to $1 million where you can itemize mortgage interest, okay? So a lot of people overlook those taxes, and that's really important.
Now, here's the big one. Let's say I know Shanetta.
Okay.
And she has 8 children.
Mm-hmm.
I know she only could use at least 3 of the children to get a good tax return.
Okay.
Now, she's saying, hey, Roman, I know you can get $3,000 to $5,000. I know Kenyatta, that's illegal. And to file 2 of my children, you say what?
I say, you can't just if you have 7 kids, you can't sell a children legally to another individual hoping to get money if that's what you're asking. What happens is if they're not related, because so many things can go wrong with that. If there's no relationship, if they're not an aunt, uncle, brother, sister, if they file in the head of household, live with that individual. What if you're a distant relative? A distant relative, then that falls under the qualifying relative rule. But is different rules that follow with that. They have to live with you for over 6 months of the year. Okay, so when it comes time for that audit and you're not able to prove that, that's not a good move. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody.
There's ways around that. No, I'm just. Now, how can I get a good return instead of owing? That's the legitimate question.
Do is you want to maximize all your deductions. Okay, you want to itemize your deductions. You want to take advantage of your deductions because that's going to decrease your AGI on the amount that you're going to be taxed on. And you want to maximize all your credits that you have that comes to you. Okay, so deductions and credits are 2 different things. Okay, so if somebody filing a child and let's say they're an entrepreneur, okay, after they do all their deductions, now it lowers the AGI and it puts them in a different tax bracket for them to be taxed on. Now we get to the refundable credit and the non-refundable credits. So those credits have to be put in a perspective that will give you a refund, and that's how you maximize your return.
Now, tell people how they can get in contact with you and your website and everything.
Okay, my website is www.expedienttax.com. Okay, you can reach me at 773-413-TAX1. That's 8291. You could also, we have our tax training course that takes, that's all year round. It's Expedient Tax Training Institute, and we are hiring individuals because we want to show people what it's like to owning a business, okay? Because it's 2 things certain in life, death and taxes, okay? So what we want to do is we want to empower our people to prosper, and one of the biggest things that people have, no matter what craft you're in, is those taxes.
All right, one more time, the site.
www.expedienttax.com.
Such a pro. Thank you so much for coming.
No problem,
Roman.
It's
not that bad. Stay right there. When we come back on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station, the Drive at 5 continues. Suffering from dry skin? Are you looking ashy outside? Well, have no fear. Noelle Curtis from Pretty Dapper is here. She'll help you get you in the mix to make your skin kind of nice and shiny throughout the holidays. Coming up next on the Drive at 5. And we're back on the Drive at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station. The weather outside is frightful with cold temperatures. What? I mean,
I love it. Go ahead.
How to pick the right lotions and oils to protect your skin from being dry. We turn to the CEO of Pretty Dapper, Noelle Curtis, to give us some suggestions. How you doing?
I'm awesome. I'm shining. I've been handing out lotion in the studio.
Now, what are the best lotions or oils you recommend to use for the winter weather? It's snowing outside now, so.
Yeah, so one of the things that people really misunderstand about the cold weather is that it's very drying. So it's just pure science. It'll start sucking the water out of your skin. So that's why you get so dry so quickly. So you want, first of all, you want that dead layer of skin. You talked about the ash. I don't know, have you ever had that winter itch?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you take off, I don't know, your thermals and you just like scratching. It's like, what is this itch? It's dry skin. Your skin is getting tight. It's cold. You need to hydrate it. That comes from internal, so drink as much water as possible. But then additionally, you want to make sure you're exfoliating that dead skin off. Your skin goes through a transition every 28, 30, and as you get older, even longer before that dead skin actually comes all the way off the body. Think about it, the dust in your house, that's body. Was just flying around through the house. A lot of, so dust your house, people. But you have to exfoliate, and you can do exfoliation in so many different ways, but the two primary ones are mechanical or chemical exfoliation, simply removing dead skin. So you can either do a body brush, you can do a loofah, you can do a salt scrub, you can do a sugar scrub, you can do a sand scrub. There's even like flower scrubs that you can do out. You want to do something that's if you have more sensitive skin, you want to use something that has a less abrasive mixture in it. But if you really are like, I gotta scrub this off, you just get in there and scrub, good old fashioned exfoliation. But the oils you want to use are definitely important. You want a small molecule oil.
Like what?
So grapeseed oil is good. It's great in vitamin E, which helps heal the skin. Olive oil can be used as well, but you want to mix it. A lot of people turn and say, oh, let me put jojoba oil on. Fan of jojoba oil because it actually has a waxy texture, and so it's sort
What's
of
jojoba oil?
Jojoba. That's how you.
I thought you said hobo oil.
It's jojoba. Yeah.
Jojoba. Okay. I thought you said hobo oil.
No, jojoba oil. I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's a real thing. I don't want that. That's a specialty item there.
Okay.
But jojoba oil actually has a waxy texture, so it can actually help lock in a smaller molecule. So if you mix jojoba oil with like a grapeseed oil, then you have this nice texture that as you spread it on your body, then it's going to lock in.
A lot of people say cocoa butter
Mm-hmm.
is good.
It is.
But there's like the cheap version and the real version. How you know which one is which? You go to Walgreens.
Okay.
And you go down the aisle and you're like, ooh, a big bottle of
Cocoa butter.
from $3.99.
Right. I mean, it's all in processing. So you have some companies that spend a lot of money on processing the cocoa butter, and you'll get a different texture. So there's some processes that have more water, which feels like a watered down oil. I'm a personal fan favorite of shea butter. I recommend it to all of my clients just because of the amino acids and the minerals that are in it and the vitamins. So that's my personal preference is shea butter. And I get it. I'm not going to plug a company, but I guess this is okay. It's a certified shea butter, and they use a different distillation process, and the texture when you put it in your hand, it literally melts like butter. And so anything that you have to do a whole lot of warming up on the body to get to spread, you're probably going to have a difficult time getting it off the body as well. If it takes a lot of work to get it on, it's going to take a lot of work to get it off. And just because you're getting it off doesn't mean you're actually exfoliating or doing any good for the skin. So, I mean, different people have different preferences on it, but that's just my personal preference.
So what is the difference between the store-bought oils and lotions or handmade oils or lotions?
Oh, so much. You making me put my legal hat on. You to get
you
in
asked
the
for
store,
it. I mean,
to get in the store, you have to go through a lot of checks and balances versus if you make something at home, like the kitchen chemist. That's what I call them, a kitchen chemist. I'm a kitchen chemist. My kitchen chemistry has not been certified by a licensed chemist yet. And so therefore, I don't have any products in the store. But if I had certified chemical formulations and things like that, they would be then at the level where, according to USDA specs and things like that, it's cosmeceuticals where it's commercial grade ingredients that are safe for the public in safe amounts. The formulation is so you get in the store versus what you get at home. So if you buy somebody's, shea butter that they're making, this week you might get one result, but next week you might get a different result because they've lost track of how many drops of an essential oil they put into the formulation or how many ounces of a certain oil they put in. It's different formulations, different processes.
now, what about the specific chemicals a person out for who may be allergic or suffer from diabetes? What lotions or oils you may suggest or recommend to protect their skin from these type of weather conditions?
Well, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician. So you definitely want to check with a physician because there's some people who have diabetic reactions that other diabetic carriers, I guess, it's a disease that some diabetics do not have. So you definitely want to check with your doctor. Things you really want to look for, if you have certain allergies, like if you have hay fever, you want to look and see what type of flowers or plants that they really use in the formulation. If you have a nut allergy, what type of a nut allergy is that? Is it a true nut allergy? Is it a shell allergy? You need to look and see because those things can have a reaction. Even if you have like a shellfish allergy, I would recommend you staying away from mineral-based or sea-based products. So you have to take your own common sense into practice. But if you know you have an allergy, read the ingredient label. And you can't just do the first 2 or 3 lines. You have to read the full list. But there are also some chemicals.
But sometimes they use these big, long, elaborate words, and you don't know what it means, like nut. Shinako,
right,
Baku,
the Latin origins. They use the botanical origins, right?
Yeah.
Right. But in the age of Google, you can Google it. You can Google the botanical origins of some plants and flowers, but usually they will put in parentheses what it is. So like if it's aloe or something like that. It might say aloe barbaris or something like that, but in parentheses it'll say aloe vera juice. Or even for sunflower oil, it'll have the botanical name, but it'll also in parentheses have layman term sunflower oil. So most companies who spend the extra money will give you that clarification, but you have to read.
Chap lips. That's the what?
It's cold.
Yeah, it's cold outside.
Stop licking your lips. Put on some oil.
Like what?
Well, you can use beeswax. You can use cocoa butter. You can use shea butter. Good old Vaseline
on your lips.
On your lips, yeah. But it's just a matter of, again, exfoliation. So personally, Carmex does not work for me.
What about petroleum jelly that they use at the dollar store?
I mean, petroleum jelly is an occlusive. It creates an occlusive barrier. So basically it's trapping moisture in and it's sitting right on the top of the skin. It's not letting anything out. It's not letting anything in. So it's going to lay that dry skin back down off, or if you eat it off or you drink it off, whatever, that chapped skin is going to pop right back up. So you want to, again, make sure you are drinking plenty of water in the winter because your body is losing water just like you do in the middle of summer. So yeah, you can, the nice little mixtures. I wish I had more specific oils to tell you, but you just want to use common sense again. There's a lot of products out there, but again, you have to use your own judgment call because there are some things that don't react. Like I said, I can't use Carmex. I can't use Burt's Bees. I don't use Burt's Bees because castor oil is in it, and castor oil, I'm very sensitive to castor oil. And it makes me literally want to gag, and I can taste it in the Burt's Bees, so I can't use it. But castor oil is a great emollient. It's a small molecule. It helps with moisture, excuse me. So, yeah.
So how they can get a hold of you?
Oh, of course, prettydapperday.com. I am in Chicago. Here's my camera, right? Here's my
go ahead.
Camera.
Do
that
CEO Expedia tax services guy.
Oh, okay, right.
Stephen Keys did.
I got to follow up between.
Yeah.
You can catch me at www.prettydapperday.com. That's online booking. And you can send a message that way as well. I've taken my phone number down currently.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Send me a message. Okay. I got a lot of stuff going on. So send me a message and I'll respond back to the message. Online booking, that is true live. I'm full, you guys. It's the end of the year. So
yeah,
I only have a couple of appointments left for the month.
So you'll be back next week?
Next Monday, yes. Ready to give some gifts, right?
Yeah. Well, thanks for telling.
I'm sorry.
So when we...
Don't tell your secrets now.
Yeah, so...
No, I'm excited.
When we come... Oh, actually, that's it. That's going to do it for us for the Drive at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeart radio station. Thanks to Earl Winfrey, our executive producer. Wanda, who is behind the scenes dropping stuff. And next week will be our grand finale for the year. We'll actually have a Christmas party to celebrate the year to be, and we got a whole bunch of surprises and everything, and you'll be back.
I'll be back.
Everybody will be back, and everybody will be here. It will be so packed. You'll be like, what is this and what is going on? And guess what, Earl? Your favorite food will be here.
Hey.
Yes. On the Drive at 5 next week. Have a good week, everyone.